There is a lot of chatter out there about hiring a private caregiver instead of using an agency caregiver. Is it cheaper? Is it safer? What about taxes? Is it really going to be worth the hassle? Well, you're going to find out in this video. Hi there, I'm Sofia. Welcome to another video. I release weekly videos to help you be a more satisfied, more successful, and more informed family caregiver. If you are here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. There's a lot of people who feel really strongly about hiring a private caregiver or not hiring a private caregiver, and they will fight it tooth and nail to the end about their opinion. But today I'm going to tell you the real truth, the pros and the cons of hiring a private caregiver, and let you decide for yourself if it's the right thing for you and if you could do it. But spoiler alert, I think you can do it. So I'm just going to jump right in and start with the pros of hiring a private caregiver. First and foremost is what everybody is worried about, the cost. The hot savings of hiring a private caregiver can be significant, especially the more hours that your parent needs caregiving, the more you're going to save. If you go through an agency, you're looking at $20 to $25 to $28 an hour. If you hire privately, you can probably hire a caregiver for between $15 and $20 an hour. A significant difference that could really mean thousands and thousands of dollars a year in the long run. Yes, the price is going to go up a bit because of taxes, and I will talk about that in just a minute. The second good thing about hiring a caregiver is the amount of control you have over the situation. You get to control who shows up at your doorstep. Often when you use an agency, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a consistent caregiver, and they all have different personalities, different styles. They have to learn your parents' needs all over again, and that can be really stressful for your parent and for you in having confidence of who is coming into the home. The third good thing is that there is much more flexibility when you hire a private caregiver. When you go through an agency, that agency dictates what duties that worker is allowed to do. So oftentimes, let's say you have both your mother and your father there, but only your mother needs services from the agency. The agency is typically only allowed to do things for your mother. So if there's laundry to be done, sometimes they're not allowed to do the laundry for your dad. And they're not allowed to do other things outside of their duty. But when you hire your own caregiver privately, you are able to dictate what those duties are. You can say, do everybody's laundry. You can say, cook for both my parents, even though only one of them needs caregiving services. You can ask them to drive a quarter of a mile and pick up the mail. You can ask them to do the grocery shopping or water the plants or clean out the cat's litter box. Whereas if you are using an agency caregiver, you don't have that flexibility a lot of the time. And if the agency finds out that you are asking the caregiver to do those things, they'll tell their caregiver to stop that. So the amount of flexibility you have in the duties of the caregiver is so much greater when you hire privately. The fourth really positive thing that comes out of hiring a caregiver privately is that the caregiver has so much more job satisfaction. They are committed to you and your parent, not that agency over there who's paying their paycheck. Their knowledge that you chose them, that you are their employer, especially if you're a good employer, and I'm going to talk about that, their satisfaction is so much greater, and they are happy to also have a consistent person to take care of. If they are happier on the job, more committed to you, you're going to see less turnover than you would if you're going through an agency. Also, because even though you are paying less overall, that caregiver is probably getting more pay from you than they are going through their agency. So again, if they are satisfied, they're going to be more committed, more happy, and you're going to have more consistency in the care for your parent. Now let's talk about the cons, what people say are the bad things about hiring a private caregiver. But I'll tell you ahead of time, there is a solution for every con. So a really common one I hear is, what if that caregiver is sick and they call in sick for the day and you don't have a backup? What are you going to do? Well, yes, if you are using an agency, they are going to be able to probably send you an alternate caregiver for the day. Sometimes I've experienced them not having anyone to send. So don't think that it doesn't happen with agencies also. But here is a good solution. Two things. One is you have a privately hired caregiver, but you also have an agency or two that you've already enrolled with, screened with. Maybe you use them for weekend help or respite. So you're already on their books. Use them once in a while. For instance, when your caregiver needs a break or calls in sick, you can call those agencies. You can use more than one, so if one doesn't have staff available for you, you can call the other one. So that would be your solution for needing a backup plan. Another con that I hear a lot is, oh my gosh, I have to find them, I have to screen them, I have to hire them. Yes, that could be a con, but from my point of view, it's like, yay, I get to find them, I get to screen them, and I get to hire who I want. I get control. There's lots of ways to find a private caregiver out there. There are tons of people who'd love to work for your parent, and there are ways to recruit and screen people so that only the most qualified, perfect matched caregivers are the ones applying for your job. It really can be quite exciting that you get to be the one to choose, not an agency, because a lot of choosing comes down to personality and fit and match. And I think that that's a huge part of finding the right person. Another thing that scares people away are background checks. Yes, the agencies do run background checks on all of their caregivers, absolutely necessary. But you know, you can do that too, and if you are hiring privately, you're an employer. Yes, you can do your own background check because you're an employer, and on any of the applicants that you're considering hiring. And don't think that just because an agency is doing their background checks, that agency caregivers aren't problematic sometimes. I have seen many times, unfortunately, agency caregivers who steal from seniors, who are abusive, verbally abusive, who do the wrong thing. I think the risk is the same whether you hire privately or through an agency. You just have to do the things you need to do to be diligent, no matter where that caregiver is coming from. This video here is going to help you avoid financial abuse of your parent, whether your caregiver is from an agency or if you're hiring privately. Another con people say is, oh my gosh, now I'm an employer. I don't want to be an employer. Well, guess what? It's not all that hard. And if you've ever managed people or supervised people in your regular job, then you're not going to have any problem with this. And even if you don't have that experience, these are things that you can learn. But yes, you are an employer, and yes, you do need to learn to be a good employer and make a good work environment for a privately hired caregiver, including, you know, not harassing them and making sure they don't have a hostile work environment, that you're going by all the employment laws. So there are some things to know, but you can definitely learn them. And a huge thing that scares away people and definitely makes it a con of hiring privately is, oh my gosh, what about taxes? Well, first, a lot of people do say that they would rather pay their caregiver under the table because it costs them less and the caregiver gets more money. But I'll really warn you, I don't recommend that at all. And the reason is because that's considered tax evasion and it will get found out. And the way that it gets found out is if your caregiver gets injured and they try to go and apply for disability, or if you lay them off, they go and apply for unemployment, then the system is going to come around and find that you weren't paying your taxes. And you are going to get in trouble for that. But really, there is a positive side to paying taxes, because if you have to pay taxes for your caregiver, you know, you're doing everything legally, number one, but two, you're also helping your caregiver to qualify for unemployment if you have to lay them off, to qualify for workman's comp or disability if they get injured on the job. If they try to apply for credit, they will have legitimate paycheck stubs that they wouldn't get if they were being hired under the table. You're paying into their retirement money. And this is a way to show your employees that you care about them, that they are important. And even if a caregiver wants to be paid under the table, I really suggest educating them on how much better it is for them in the long run if everything is done legitimately. And I know taxes are super hard to figure out. I wouldn't be able to do it myself. But there are agencies out there and websites that you can go to and just plug in the number of hours, how much they made. They figure out all the taxes for you. You can even hire a private caregiver payroll company who will, you just submit the time card and they'll do the payroll and the taxes and cut their checks. There's a lot of easy ways to do this, being legitimate and showing your caregiver that you really care about them. And even if you have to pay an agency a fee to run the payroll and the taxes, you are still paying less than paying that agency. Another thing, it has to do with caregiver training. If you hire somebody who's not through an agency, there's a worry that they're not trained to be a caregiver. Well, there's plenty of things that you can do about that. Well, one, you can make it a requirement that your applicant goes and gets CPR certified. There are lots of places online caregiver training where they can learn the basics of taking care of a senior, learning about dementia response, learning everything they need to know about caregiving. You can make that a requirement for a new employee to go through those things. So you can do this if you were willing to put the time in up front. I think it would be worth it. You would save thousands and thousands of dollars. This is not for everyone, and thank goodness there are agencies out there for everyone else who is okay paying a premium to just get the services done and not have to think about it. But not everyone is able to afford the luxury of having everything done, and some people want a little more control over the situation. This video only skimmed the surface on hiring a private caregiver. I think that maybe I'll put together a step-by-step video of how to screen and hire and find and be an employer for a private caregiver. I think that might be helpful. Let me know if you think that would help you. Next up, take a look at these videos that I'm sure are going to help you in your ongoing caregiving role. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe down here. I'll see you next time.